Imagine it's 79 AD. Live in a small village near a volcano. In the distance, you see smoke billowing into the sky. You and your friends laugh and point, joking about how you should build a house out of pumice. Little do you know that soon this joke will become your reality. In fact, in just over 24 hours, a catastrophic eruption from Mount Vesuvius will literally turn the sky red and freeze thousands of people in their tracks. While the world around you will be engulfed by searing hot gas and ash, a thick layer of pumice will blanket the nearby villages. So heavy are the falling rocks that the air grows still. People drop to their knees and struggle to breathe. All around you, the ground cracks and the sea boils. Within a few moments, the entire landscape is changed forever. This is the story of when the sky turned red and Pompeii froze in time. It's not surprising that people lived so close to Vesuvius. Not only was it an awe-inspiring sight, but fertile volcanic soil made for some of the best farming in all of Italy. The area was so desirable, in fact, that wealthy Romans built villas there. One such villa belonged to Pliny the Younger, a Roman lawyer and philosopher who would one day become famous for defending people accused of bizarre crimes like casting gold coins from a tower for fun. Near his villa sat the town of Pompeii, home to around 11,000 people. A short walk away across the bay was the town of Herculaneum, home to around 5,000 people. Just beyond lay the city of Stabia, population around 30,000. Though we today think of these places as having been utterly destroyed by the volcano, back then they were simply buried by pumice and covered in ash. For the people living in these towns, life would go on as normal, though likely with the annoyance of cleaning ash out of everything. And yet, that all changed when Mount Vesuvius erupted with the force of 100 atomic bombs. On the morning of August, something unusual happened. According to Pliny the Younger, who was in Misenum at the time, a strange mist covered the land, making it difficult to see. People in Pompeii described the sky as looking like a stormy, cloudless day, darkening ominously. Some even reported seeing smoke coming from Vesuvius. Whatever it was enough to disrupt business in Pompeii. Citizens were advised not to travel to Naples that day. Instead, they stayed in Pompeii to watch gladiators fight in the amphitheater. They partied late into the night at the gladiator barracks and strolled around the brothels after dark. None knew that they would never see sunrise again. By the next day, August, the sky above Pompeii was blood red. A massive plume of smoke rose from the volcano, which now had an ominous glow about it. People looked up in awe and fear as they watched what appeared to be a small mountain sprout from the summit of Vesuvius. To those who had seen previous eruptions, however, it was clear that something much larger was about to happen. People began running for the hills, though it's not clear if they were running from Vesuvius or toward safety in the city of Naples. What is clear is that most stayed behind. Then the earth shook violently, and buildings started to collapse. People ran outside and screamed in terror as walls crumbled around them. That's when the searing hot ash hit them. People fell to the ground, gasping for breath as they were met with temperatures as high as 1,000 degrees Celsius. Those who were lucky enough to have a boat available escaped across the bay. But everywhere else, people were frozen in their tracks. Some were burned alive, while others suffocated on ash. Still, others were buried under falling debris. Some were even killed by giant waves that crashed through the towns. Others were hit by pumice the size of houses. Pompeii was no more. Herculaneum was completely destroyed. And even the great Roman villas were turned to rubble. Incredibly, however, the nearby city of Stabia suffered less damage than its neighbors. This was because most of the deadly pumice landed in the deep sea, where it formed a new island. However, the seawater boiled and the ground cracked, forming pools of molten lava. Those caught between the two types of disaster died horrific deaths. Some were burned alive, while others were trapped inside their homes, as the floor beneath them split open and swallowed them whole. A day before, these people had gone about their daily lives with not a care in the world. Now they were dead. For weeks after the initial blast, survivors struggled to dig themselves out of the debris. Meanwhile, over in Herculaneum, the story was different. There, the intense heat from the eruption fused tiny particles of pumice together to form a thick, heavy paste. This paste covered the town and preserved many things, including people. To this day, archaeologists can find perfectly preserved pieces of furniture in Herculaneum, as well as boats in the harbor. Even food has been found still sitting on the dinner table. It's almost like the town was put on pause for eternity. As you might imagine, the people closest to Vesuvius lost their lives instantly, but those further away survived the initial blast and spent days digging through the ash trying to find loved ones. Many people did this while standing on boats in the sea, so great was the quantity of pumice that had fallen on the water. Others waited as long as 2 years before returning to the site of the disaster in hopes of finding someone missing, since so many bodies were covered in ash. People even organized search parties to help look for their friends and family. Sadly, most of those people never came home. The true death toll of the disaster is not known. Estimates range from 2,000 to 16,000, but we do know that nearly every single person in Pompeii died. Only 2 skeletons have ever been found that show signs of trauma consistent with the eruption. This suggests that most people died quickly and painlessly, either by being burned or drowned. It also suggests that people who died later from injuries or disease were likely the exception, not the rule. Mount Vesuvius continued erupting on and off until October, covering the entire region in a layer of ash over half a meter thick. Eventually, people began returning to their homes. The nearby city of Naples, which had been largely unaffected by the eruption, lent food and money to those in need. By 80 AD, much of the area had been rebuilt. So why wasn't Pompeii? Was it abandoned because it was cursed by the gods? Well, not exactly. Pompeii was destroyed because of bad luck and bad science. At the time, people didn't understand plate tectonics. They didn't know that the Mediterranean was splitting apart and that Africa was moving closer to Europe. They also didn't know that Mount Vesuvius was actually made up of several smaller volcanoes. If they had, perhaps they wouldn't have settled in the shadow of the beast. But we can't blame it all on ignorance. After all, Pompeii had been destroyed before, in 62 AD, by a smaller eruption from Mount Vesuvius. Back then, it took 15 years to rebuild. The citizens must have thought that whatever had befallen them was part of their fate. It's a testament to their hard work that they managed to rebuild at all, especially considering that the population of Pompeii doubled between 79 and 117 AD. What we can blame on ignorance, however, is our lack of response to the disaster. Though Pliny the Younger wrote a letter describing the destruction, as well as a poem, for centuries, the Romans saw the eruption as a local tragedy. Sure, it was unfortunate, but it happened a long time ago, and far, far away. That all changed when the Middle Ages rolled around and people began excavating Roman ruins for building material. In 1748, an Italian monk discovered some frescoes in the ruins of Pompeii. Soon, the site was opened to the public, and in 1860, it was made a national monument. Today, more than 2.5 million tourists visit the ruins of Pompeii each year. Some scientists, however, worry that too many tourists may be the ruin of Pompeii's ruins. Because so many people are visiting the site, it's eroding much faster than it should be. This, combined with rising groundwater levels, could mean that Pompeii won't be around for much longer. Hopefully, though, these warnings will be heeded and steps will be taken to preserve this ancient city. After all, the reason we're so interested in Pompeii is because its people once walked the same streets we walk today. Their stories are our stories. Their triumphs and tragedies are our triumphs and tragedies. We learn about Pompeii not to scare ourselves, but to inspire us. Every time we visit, we remember that no matter how great we are, nature is greater. And it doesn't matter how powerful you are. Sometimes Mother Nature just wants to hang a pumice-sized wrecking ball from her belt and get swinging. Now watch. Why did Rome fall? Or check out this video instead.